Lions Pride, let's roll. Welcome to the Den, where it doesn't matter if you're a Lions fan, but I really think you should be one. And today we're going to go over a quick video just to talk about the game that just took place between the Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions. The Lions just squeaking, and I mean squeaking away from that game. Overall, that game was relatively good from a standpoint of the Lions offense. Jared Goff went 217 yards, averaged 7.8 a game, had one touchdown and one interception. You don't want to see that interception, but of course, always things are going to happen. Week one, haven't played. A little rusty, I would say. Rushing attack, this is where we really shined. David Montgomery went 17 for 91, and Jahmyr Gibbs went 11 for 40. We also had some big runs from Jameson Williams and Khalif Raymond, especially Raymond in that overtime section of the game. In total, we went 31 carries for 161 yards, averaging 5.3 and 2 touchdowns. The longest was a 21. Overall, rushing attack was the highlight. David Montgomery put the team on his back today. Jared Goff, we're going to want to see a little bit more from the passing game. It was really weird today. Jameson Williams had a phenomenal game at 5 receptions for 120 yards with a touchdown, his longest being 52, and had 9 targets. Sam Laporta was our second receiver with 4 for 45, 11.3 average. Then we had Jahmyr Gibbs at 4 for 34. Amon-Ra, this was the weird thing, was only 3 receptions for 13 yards. I'm going to give that up to the Sean McVay defense really putting a pressure on Amon-Ra to not be performing today. Then, of course, David Montgomery and Brock Wright were both 1 for 2. In total, our team had 18 total receptions for 217 yards, averaging about 12.1 with 1 touchdown. Once again, based on those numbers, was the rushing attack was so much more well-refined, which is showing that that offensive line is absolutely phenomenal. We're very happy with how this game ended. Just need to pray that the defense is going to be doing better sooner rather than later. Of course, on that front, Matthew Stafford went 34 for 49. You can tell that they still know what our weakness is. They threw the ball 49 times in a game. That is an extremely high number. In total, he went for 317 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, averaging about 6.5 a throw. For their rushing attack, Kyren Williams was 18 for 50 yards. That is an extremely good number. Even though they weren't running as much, Kyren Williams was averaging 95.1 yards a game last year. He was number 1 in the NFL, and to hold him to only 50 yards and their entire team to only 83, which is literally half of what we ran, is an extremely big piece. Cooper Kupp, 14 receptions for 110 yards, 7.9 average with 1 touchdown and a long of 21. Of course, it's always going to happen that you're probably going to have one receiver on a team that's over 100 yards. The thing we don't want to see is what's up next. Tyler Johnson, 5 for 79, 15.8 average, and a 63 long. That's just unacceptable from a defensive standpoint. You cannot let the number 2 also get near 80 yards. Then you have 2 receivers in their 40s at Colby Parkinson with 4 for 47 and Demarcus Robinson with 4 for 42. This is an unbelievably bad part of our game. I think that overall, people like Terrion Arnold need to be more clean on the game. Carlton Davis went out with an injury very close to the end of that game. Overall, we cannot trust this secondary, and I don't think it's entirely the player's fault. I believe personally that Aaron Glenn should be blamed for a lot of the defensive deficiencies we have. They are not doing play calls that are sufficient for this offense. And then, of course, the other big part of this is that Puka Nacua was not in this game for the entire second half. Had he been, he wouldn't have gone 4 for 35 in this game. He probably would have gone for more. In a total, they had 34 receptions for 317 yards, averaging 9.3 a reception with 1 touchdown. That is not an entirely good stat line that you want to see from what is supposed to be a completely revamped corner room. Let's get on to the defense. In total, the Detroit Lions had 76 total tackles with 46 solo tackles. There were 2 sacks. I believe one was by Aiden Hutchinson and one was by Levi Onwuzurike. There was 7 tackles for losses, and there was in total 12 QB hits. So that should tell you that our entire team is getting to the quarterback, just not quick enough against a team like the Rams. I think we will have more success against teams like the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, even teams like Dallas and San Francisco. I don't think they'll be able to get the ball off as fast as Matthew Stafford is with the Rams. For interceptions, Kirby Joseph had 1 interception. We only had 1 this game. Luckily, that interception did come at a valuable time in the end zone. Everything else in this game was very pedestrian. Now on to my more personal stuff with this game. Overall, the game was not bad. I was really upset with the secondary. Terrion Arnold had 2 really big plays against him that really shouldn't have been, both against Cooper Kupp on consecutive drives, where he just had the pass interference that he had was unbelievably bad. It just was not something that should be taking place at an NFL level. Of course, he's a rookie, so it's always going to take place that those sorts of things are going to happen. So I'm not entirely upset about that. Other than that, the missing of tackles, linebacker room not doing their job sometimes, the rush defense still looking really good. Holding a team to 83 yards total is really, really good. They don't even attempt to run the ball very much. 23 carries in a game isn't that high for an entire team. So we're happy with how that ended up for the rush defense. Secondary, I think, will get better. Overall, the game actually wasn't that bad in the first half. In the first half, they were only at about 119 yards total received. Other things we're wanting to see. Jared Goff made some really questionable throws today. I think he was just a little rusty from not having played for a little bit. Remember, the Detroit Lions starters, except for our rookies and some of the newer players, did not play in this offseason. So during the preseason, they did not have a single snap. So I think that's the reason we have Jared Goff is only at 217 yards, and that Amon-Ra, for instance, only had 13 entire receiving yards that entire game, which is an extremely low number for him. Outside of that, things that we kind of assumed would take place is that both teams were more or less just kicking the new kickoff out of the back of the end zone. There was no reason for them to do anything related to that. So you just have to hope that that is able to improve at a later date. For the rest of the game, I loved how Alex Anzalone was playing. He had 13 total tackles, with 10 of those being solo tackles, had 3 tackles for loss. As a linebacker, that is a really good. Alex Anzalone has always been a workhorse for our defense. It's something that he's very good at. He always is able to get the tackles. He doesn't miss a whole lot, is the good thing. Other than that, the other star player, Carlton Davis, for 10 total tackles and 6 solo tackles. None of those were tackles for loss. He had no interceptions, but making sure that he was able to tackle. He also had a really good pass breakup. We're going to hope that he's okay. He did run off the edge with kind of a rib injury at the very end there. Terrion Arnold went 8 total tackles. All of them were interceptions. And of course, the big one, Kerby Joseph had that interception earlier. For the sacks in the game, Aiden Hutchinson went 1 for 1 on sacks. You had Levi Onwuzurike and Marcus Davenport split a sack as well. So overall, I would say the takeaways from this game, Rams fans, you should be very happy with how that offense played. Matthew Stafford seems to be that he is still the same player that he was last year. Cooper Kupp looks like he's back. Have to hope that the Puka Nacua injury is nothing serious and long-term. But even with that guy, you've still got guys on that offense like Tyler Johnson and Colby Parkinson who showed up, even DeMarcus Robinson to a degree. So overall, Rams fans, be very happy with how this game turned out. For Lions fans, we need to see a couple things in the next upcoming week before our next game. Jared Goff has got to be making cleaner passes, and we've got to be throwing for more yards. We had good ones, good passes to Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta. We need to get Amon-Ra in the game. Overall, though, you're happy because Jameson Williams finally is showing that he is going to be a top-level wide receiver in the NFL for us. Also for Sam Laporta, still active. His pass blocking was looking a lot better this year as well. And Brock Wright, of course, is still an amazing player. For the running side of things, David Montgomery is still proving that he is a top back in the league. His efficiency on plays, 5.4 average yards a carry, is a ridiculous number. That means every time he holds the ball for 2 possessions, he is getting a first down. That means it only takes 2 downs and you can just go down the field with him, which is basically what we did in the overtime drive. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how the offense was looking today. As for the defense, all we're really hoping for is that run defense can get a little bit better, especially since DJ Reader was out for today's game. We'll hope that next game he can get in there and everything will end up being a lot better. For the secondary, on the other hand, we have to hope that, first off, the Carlton Davis injury, he was holding his rib at the end there, is nothing serious. I didn't see if he ended up back in the game at the end of that. I don't think he did, especially since we didn't have a defensive stand in overtime. But Terrion Arnold needs to be a little bit more careful with the ball. Amik Robertson did a really good job, and Brian Branch also did a really good job. Hoping that Kerby Joseph can keep that interceptions streak alive, and he can just keep having good production with that. The other thing I want to go over is Jake Bates. Jake Bates was 100% on all kicks, whether that be a field goal or an extra point. He went for 2 for 2 on field goals with a long of 32 and went 2 for 2 on extra points, and he ended up with 8 points total. Very happy to see that Dan Campbell is going to trust our kicker and send us into overtime when we really need it. So other than that, it has been an amazing game. I will get back with you tomorrow. I will be trying to live stream the game between the Jets and the Niners tomorrow, but I will try to get a cap review of what happened today in the NFL tomorrow or Tuesday. Other than that, I hope everybody has a really good day, and Lions Pride, let's continue to roar.